fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you again for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, as well as the bell down below. Get notified whenever a new episode drops. This episode and the whole season of the Midtown Madness Podcast, of course, is brought to you by Two Men and a Garden. Whether you like it mild or hot, chunky or cantina style, the people over at Two Men have you covered. Why Two Men in a Garden? Well, they are St. Louis through and through. I didn't make it down to Knoxville for the NCAA tournament game, but it sure helped having some of their delicious salsa on hand, even though I watched it at the Westport Social. Pete was able to, digest that score line with some salsa to chase it. So you can pick up their many products in any local grocery store or online at twomeninthegarden.com. Follow them on social at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. Pete. It's what we feared. But I felt at ease throughout the game. I was disappointed in some of the things that the Billikens did. I think it's fair to say that SLU could have done better, especially in that first quarter. But hey, this was a great Saturday to celebrate Billiken women's hoops.
They did something they've never done before, and no one can take that away. Can't take it away from them. Can't take it away from us. It's amazing to see them play in the tournament for the first time in program history, regardless of the outcome. And we'll get into that right now. But you're right. Head held high. Feel good about the season. Feel good about the direction of the program. And I don't for a second think there's any shame in the results this weekend.
No. And like I said, there are things that SLU could have done better and may have resulted in perhaps covering the spread or even better. SLU hung in there for a while. It was a 3-point game in the second quarter, 27-24. And I thought, Pete, the Billikens could have led in this game on late, at the end of that first quarter. They should have been in the lead, to be honest with you.
They were really close there for a while, and we haven't given the final score yet. This was the women lost 95-50 at Tennessee. Tennessee was the 4 seed, SLU was the 13 seed on Saturday the 18th in the first round of the women's tournament. And you're right, Zach. SLU was right there. They were, I think, they got to within 2 at one point. Do I have that right? I think it was 24-22 and then 27-24 before Tennessee went on that big run.
Oh my God.
21-0 run to finish the quarter, to finish the half and take a 48-24 lead into the locker room. And then they proceed to start the second half with another 9-0 run. And it was just there's not much you can do after that. I kind of thought, okay, if SLU comes out of the gate, at halftime hot, maybe they start to get under Tennessee's skin a little bit. Maybe they make this at least a respectable, margin. But unfortunately, that just wasn't in the cards. There was something a little bit I had a kind of a feeling about this one, just because when Tennessee beat LSU in the SEC tournament, I think that's, I'm saying this after the fact because I didn't look into them all that much before we drew them. But when I saw that, I kind of thought, I think this is a team that's probably peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
Like they're probably playing their best ball of the season at the end of the season, like SLU is, to be completely fair. But they had lost a lot of games, as we talked about in our preview show last week. They had lost a lot of games that they probably shouldn't have. They were really close. They were kind of on the edge of being ranked all season. I think they're a little better than that 23 rating indicates, that ranking indicates. And that's what SLU ran into in this game. And to SLU's credit, early on, they did kind of look the part of the team that could really get under the skin of a top seed like that.
Yeah, and I do want to kind of run down a few things that I thought the Billikens were poor at, and in the spirit of the neo feminist that I am, Um, um,
Yeah, that's
um,
you.
yeah, no, I think that they obviously did not shoot the ball well. They did not take advantage of opportunities they earned for themselves and
Mhm.
opportunities that uh, Tennessee gave them, because I really hated the way the Tennessee or the halftime analyst, the studio analyst, was like, at first Tennessee wasn't really paying attention on defense or wasn't. I'm like, shut up, dude. Like, we torched them with a couple beautiful sets and actions.
Sure.
And of course, Brooke Flowers torching him down the court, and Julia Martinez finding her for that patented over the top fast break. And, I thought we did a lot good early on, but you saw, the gap in, obviously you saw the gap in size, and I think it affected the Billikens at the rim, even when they had open shots, because I mean, there were probably, and of course the 3-point shooting was bad as well early,
Right.
but that the shots at the rim are just, I mean, if it wasn't Tennessee we're talking about, the opponent, they're inexcusable.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, like imagine that in an A10 game, how frustrated we'd have been if they missed that many layups, or that many open, kind of near to mid-range shots. I think that was it was frustrating even against Tennessee. Like you don't have that margin for error. You got to make those in
I
any
think it's
game.
just a different way of being frustrated, right? It's being like, oh, you need those against this team, rather than, come on, you gotta have those.
Yeah, that's
Like, you
100%
can't
right.
miss that. But
Right.
it's a different tone you're upset with.
Yeah. But it wasn't just, okay, so you mentioned earlier, you said the word you used was they earned them. And I think that's
Mhm.
right. Because they were forcing Tennessee to turn it over quite a bit.
Mhm.
And then SLU was also getting offensive rebounds, which was kind of surprising, like we knew going into this game, rebounding was going to be a
Absolutely.
nightmare. Like the Tennessee team, they're so big. They're big at every position relative to SLU. And they've got that big athletic front court. They bring size off the bench. I mean, we just knew rebounding was going to be a problem. We knew it. And so yeah, defensive rebounding was still kind of an issue, but man, I mean, they got after it on the offensive glass. They put themselves in really good position, gave themselves extra opportunities. They just could not make shots. And looking at the box score, I mean, you've got Calhoun, Nicastro, Kennedy. They were 0 for 9 in the first half. Martinez was 1 for 6. A couple of people were shooting okay, right? Like McBacon was okay. I think she was 3 for 6 in the first half or something like that. But just man, everybody went cold in the second. I mean, even colder somehow. It was just one of those days, and obviously you're playing against such a good team in Tennessee, probably a little bit better than Baylor, so probably the best team they've played all season.
Yep.
And there's something to be said for that, but they did miss a lot of good looks, and it's just yeah, you're right. You can't do that against a team like this.
Yeah, I thought one of the other issues that they had, and it's in our notes here, but the turnovers. And I thought
Mm,
it was just, I don't know what it was. Maybe they just got kicked in the teeth and, kind of went numb a little bit, but it just felt like, or they weren't expecting Tennessee to do, be as quicker on the close downs, quicker
yeah,
hands, longer arms, I mean, the turnovers, they were just, it was like they almost were carelessly, they were careless turnovers, but they were forced careless turnovers.
mm,
And
yeah.
Tennessee snuck up on them from behind, or just weren't watching their back really on offense with the
I
ball.
think that is one of there are a few different ways in this game, but that's one of the ways you really see the difference in
Mhm.
athleticism, right? Between like a team that Tennessee they've got some transfers, but their recruits tend to be of the 4 and 5 star variety. And you see the difference between just all around athleticism between a team like that and just a normal team like SLU, right? Like our transfers are coming from Longwood, our recruits are not 4 and 5 stars. It's a totally different level of athleticism. They do things like that maybe LaSalle and Richmond and UMass and teams that you play regularly are not quite at that level. It's no shame on SLU or anyone in the A10. It's just like, this is what it's like to play a top tier team.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tennessee was able to trick them, frustrate them, get them into a lot of mistakes. And luckily for Tennessee, they were hitting too, right? I mean, SLU's slash line at halftime, Zach, 286, 167, 667. And then Tennessee is shooting 62% from the field, 500 from three, and then 800 from the line. Pretty mistake-free basketball in terms of their shooting percentages there. Getting themselves good looks, knocking down open three-pointers.
So many options too. I mean,
Yeah.
they had scoring options all the way into their walk-ons.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna get into that because it's
Yeah.
a certainly something. It's a thing in women's college basketball that needs to be discussed. And you know, I thought, you know, I was so proud of Brooke Flowers in this one and
Oh,
so impressed with the way she handled this game. I thought, I mean, there were multiple occasions where she kind of made Tennessee player look stupid, like real stupid on when she on her defensive end. Like, you know, I just think she really showed out, and I thought she showed some face up skills, which I thought was awesome. Something you hadn't seen is, you know, she can kind of pop out and shoot that elbow jumper, but like you don't get to see it that often. I almost wish they would have seen what she could have done late in the game. You know, maybe show some face up on ABC against Tennessee. Why not see who's watching this game? You know what I mean?
that's
Show
right.
some
She gave
potential
herself a
for the
really
next
nice
level.
reel. You're
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. It's a shame the WNBA is such a small league
Yes.
because you have to be an elite player to get drafted. There are
Yes.
top 5 draft picks every year who do not play in the NBA, the WNBA the next season, because the league, you're talking about 12 teams, right? I mean, you're talking, it's less than 200 players. It's something like 150, 160 players. That's so hard to crack.
Mhm.
Somebody like Brooke Flowers is such an intriguing prospect. In any other world, it's just such a small league. There are going to be some overseas options for her for sure.
Oh,
Sure. She played so great in this game, and credit to the broadcast too. They had a ton of good things to say about her. They really laid, and look, you know, whenever it's a blowout, the broadcasters have a lot of time to kind of fill with narratives and stories and all the storylines that coming into the game, statistics, whatever they got, and they really unloaded everything they had for Flowers. They had so many nice things to say about her, and it's true that she played a great game. She had 17 points, 9 rebounds, 5 blocks. She passed Rebecca Lobo for 18th all time
on
in career
four
blocks.
straight blocks against the Tennessee
Yeah,
offense.
pretty
It was
yes.
multi-block possession.
Right. And they were like, oh yeah, during that little flurry right there, she passed Lobo, who was in the studio that day. So it was an incredible performance by her. And it wasn't just like her stats or anything, Zach. I mean, she played with so much emotion. She played with so much energy.
Mhm. You
There
saw
were
the emotion on her face at one point.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
That
mean, she brought
was
it all to this game. She brought it all. There were players on SLU who looked a little bit overwhelmed,
yes.
which is completely fair. But Flowers not only looked the part, but like just brought it. Like she
Yeah.
brought her A plus game, and what a way to end her career, to go out on a game like that. I cannot say enough nice things about the game she played.
And of course, by frustration on her face, she was in tears at one point in the second half.
Yeah,
I mean, look, Brooke, you impressed the entire bill. Like, you guys have like Billiken men's basketball fans who are staunch, just men's basketball fans only, that are paying attention to you right now.
mm-hmm.
I mean, you went on ABC. I tweeted out, you know, this is the most eyes that have ever been on Billiken. Every high school girl in the country is watching Tennessee play on ABC at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
It's a big deal, man.
Everyone.
It's a big deal.
I mean, you like Brooke Flowers doing what she did, the energy at which they played defense in this one. You know, I mean, like people are going to watch that Letchbrook Flowers. There's going to be some 6'5" girl in high school somewhere in America that's going to watch that and be like, damn, I want to play in the center of Coach Tillett's defense or offense.
Mhm.
I want to have a player like Julia Martinez throwing me the ball. This is going to do, like, regardless of the scoreline, this is going to put SLU on the radar of a step up in recruit.
I mean, there's nothing you can do better for recruiting than make an NCAA tournament, men's or women's, period. That's what it's all about in this sport. That's what it's all about. People don't know. Your regular sports fan, your regular person doesn't know anything about college basketball all year long. And then these games come on and it's magic. And it's a huge deal for high school basketball players. I mean, not just who want to be the next Broke Flowers, but like, look, schools like Tennessee, the Blue Bloods, they only have 15 scholarships. Everybody else is the one who wants a crack at them, right? So no matter what happens to SLU, no matter what the scoreline is, there have to be players on the other end of that going, okay, if I'm not at the level of making Tennessee, give me a shot at Tennessee. I would love to have a chance at them someday. And
there's not enough of that yet.
Right. And SLU just put the proof right there, like, come play, shoot your shot. Let's narrow this margin next time. Let's really threaten this team. There's a way to make a name for yourself. You got to start picking off teams like that eventually to rise the profile of your program. So this is step one, man. It's a huge step.
Yeah, we talk about that gap in talent, and my goodness, Rakia Jackson, Jordan Horston, they're okay.
Oh my God.
And I think the shooting comes from just, when a Billiken player's hand is at your neck when you're shooting, it's easy to see over them.
The level of talent there, the fluidity that they play with, the confidence that they play with. That's one of the things about Tennessee, even when they were at their most frustrated in the first and second quarter, the confidence, Zach, we are supposed to be playing a certain way. And Jackson and Horston are just incredible. They were 17 of 24 from the field combined. They rebound, they pass, they do it all. Really, we don't have an answer for that. We just have to play our game and hope it goes well. But my God, those two are good.
Yeah, that whole team, like I said, like down the line, like even when we got, and that was annoying too. I get that they're Tennessee and they've got a level of dominance to uphold, but man, like even throwing in their walk-ons at the end, like it's still just their walk-ons are 4 stars.
Well, I mean, literally, they have a 5-star recruit scoring 2 points a game, who's like 10th or 11th in their rotation. Like that, remember, like Nathaniel talked to us about that last week. Literally a 5-star, like that. Even in Duke or Carolina or whoever it is on the men's side, Kentucky, the 5 stars who come in are rotation players. They are contributors, right? They aren't scoring 2 points off the end of the bench. It's amazing to me that they go that deep. That's like, when he said that, I was like, is she hurt? I mean, is there something going on? Was she ineligible? It's like, no, she's just not quite up to the level of like our top 10 or 11. Like, what? I've never heard of that before. Yeah.
Truly preposterous.
So they empty the bench and they bring on, 5 of the top recruits in the country. What are you supposed to do? It just, it feels like Tennessee is back as a program. I know it's been 8 or 9 years or so since they've really been a true top tier elite team in women's basketball, but to me this team looks like they're going to be up there with South Carolina and LSU at the top of the SEC, competing with anybody else in the country for the foreseeable future. Just an incredible level of talent they've got there.
Yeah, dude, it was fun, man. It was enjoyable to kind of sit back and watch this game and watch the Billikens compete. I thought, Cameron Clegg was great off the bench, 12 points. I thought McMakin had a fine game. I thought some of her shots were meh. I thought, she saw everybody struggling and kind of reverted back. Lord, please forgive me. I'm about to go back to the old me type thing. And I thought Julia Martinez had a really nice game passing the ball. Did not play well at the rim. Again, nobody did when they were
Right.
being guard. Actually, nobody did, period.
Yeah.
Besides Flowers. Everyone else was just I mean, I don't know if the shot lines or sight lines are different at the area. I don't know what the hell that was about. But yeah, they couldn't get away from that off shooting night
No,
against Tennessee.
no, 33% from the field, 15% from three. I mean, look, 82% from the line. They always get it done from the line. So even with a little bit deeper background maybe at that arena, um, maybe just a little, but regardless, they were still good from the line. I think it's also worth highlighting here. Flowers had 9 rebounds that lifted her school record total to 1256. Obviously, 398 is the school blocks record by a mile. And then she ended up with 1,284 career points, which is 11th in SLU history. So again, hat off to her. She's just had an incredible career there. Um, it's a bittersweet game to end on. It's your first ever tournament game. It was a blowout. You're playing a true blue blood. It's a lot of emotions. It's a big time experience. It's a whirlwind week leading up to it. So she handled it well, and she goes down as one of the greatest all time Billikens, bar none.
Final thoughts on this game, Pete.
We've covered most of it, Zach, but I think hold your heads up high to the program, to the teams, everybody involved. Love what they did this season. They're gonna be back at the top of the A10, battling it out with that top tier of teams, be it UMass or Rhode Island, or if Fordham can get back up there, if maybe Dayton can regain some mojo. SLU's going to be in the mix at the top of the conference for a while, and I know this was a tough game. I know it didn't go the way we wanted. It got out of hand, but I think they ran into a very good team at the absolute wrong time. I think it was a tough draw. I think when you look at the women's tournament, one of the things that kind of was a bit of a kicker is to see some of those other, like the potential first round games that they had not perform very well, right? I mean, like I was looking for a while, like Ohio State, for example,
Yeah.
was one of the teams that they thought they might be playing early on, or at least if you looked at any of the bracketology ahead of time, like we did, a lot of it had SLU as a 14 going to Ohio State as a 3, and watching Ohio State struggle against James Madison before finally in the last few minutes putting it together. Kind of thought like, man, might have liked a crack at another one of these teams instead. It had to be Tennessee, so you know they have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm thrilled for the program to finally get to a tournament, and I just can't wait to see what they do next.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was fun to get excited about a game like this and have people all over the place watching and paying attention that wouldn't normally. I think that's really the crux of my enjoyment out of it, as well as seeing our players get a chance to showcase their talent, no matter how starkly different than Tennessee,
Yeah.
on a stage like over the air television, which is not something that many people get in college, especially women, especially, and then non men's basketball or football. So yeah, as far I think the season and beyond, I share your optimism as far as the program that Rebecca Tillett, or I guess the culture here that she can cultivate. I am very nervous that we will not find a big to replace Brooke Flowers. I don't think Hydera's the answer for sure.
Well,
But
and she's already a fourth
oh, is
year
she?
player
Is she? I
anyway.
haven't.
Yeah, I think she's probably only got one more year.
I think Saval Goal is done
Yeah,
after. Yeah.
she is.
So I mean the front court's thin. I think. But
Well, we did get commitments from three players a couple weeks ago.
that's right. God,
So they are bigs. They're all the front court. I think one's more of kind of a combo forward, and the other two are true front court players, like true bigs. But look, I mean, they're JUCO players, and none have put up like huge numbers, right? I mean, they've got the first one scores about 12 points a game. The other two are like 8-6, 8-8. You know, they're not flowers. I don't think they're not going to have the shot blocking ability. They don't have the height or the length that she does, but they do have, more size and strength, I think, in terms of like their physicality. So it's going to be a different look in the front court. I don't know if they're going to be option 1 and 2 down there, or how that's going to work yet. I think there's still there still might be another scholarship to play with. I guess we'll see how everything shakes out this spring. So it's going to be a different look, but I do think in the longer term, like, look, they're JUCO transfers. They'll be fine, but in the longer term, we do need to see, the overall recruiting profile of the program go up, from where it has been historically. I think we will see that happen. I think this is a good staff, energetic staff, and the program's going the right direction. So we will see that. I just don't know if we'll see a big difference next year. It's going to be largely the same team with kind of a new front court look. I think is more or less what it's going to be.
and oh, hey, hold on. The broadcast announced that Julia Martinez was returning.
So I didn't hear that.
I
was
heard
watching
something about it.
Yeah, and
I thought they were saying like she has yet to decide if she's going to use her final year, or her extra year.
I missed it completely. I was probably telling one of my kids to be quiet or something at some point, but
Pipe down.
But yeah, that we did see that via text. A couple of people said that they heard that. So I don't know. Did she say it in like a pregame presser or something like that?
I don't know, but it's like I was like, damn, she's gonna do us like that. I'm not gonna announce anything and then tells the announcers.
Yeah. 3 days later, we have to hear it on TV.
Unbelievable. You're not welcome back.
Yeah, but I mean that again, if assuming that's correct, that really, we look more or less, aside from Flowers, this is going to be a lot of the same group back next year.
Yep.
And they've really learned how to play together well, and we'll see what the front court looks like, and I think they'll be a pest again in the A10, and then probably stronger in the non-conference, and you got to really like the direction they're heading in.
Peter, I wanted to, as I like to do, get into subjects that are touchy. I like to, push the envelope. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really. But I want to talk about what I believe is holding, women's college basketball back a little bit, as far as kind of getting the average fan. Like, I mean, this was on full display Saturday. We've talked about it, and it's prominent every year in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and many times beyond that, deep into the tournament. The competition gap between the top 10 teams in the nation and fellow NCAA tournament teams is just preposterous. I'm of the belief that like it very much is hindering the growth of the college game, although the college game is the most popular women's basketball division. I know, the people have suggested WNBA do something like drop the rims maybe a few inches, enhance the entertainment factor. I don't think that's obviously going to solve the college basketball crisis, or not crisis, but the issue we are talking about at hand. Pete, what do you think about how crazy it is that, the haves and the have-nots are such a stark difference?
Yeah, so I think it's important to keep in mind, Title IX passes in 1972. I don't think the first women's basketball tournament was held for another 10 years. I think it was 1982 was the first one. Mm-hmm. Women's basketball was not at the Olympics until 1976. Women's basketball, depending on what state you were in, had a completely different rule book than men's
like
basketball.
the beginning of Glory Road, where
Yeah, yeah.
where
I mean,
they're
if
playing two. What was it? It was two people couldn't cross over.
right, I think yeah, like one of my friends in high school, his mom played in high school in Iowa back in the early 70s or whatever, and I think yeah, they had designated players on offense and defense.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't make any sense. But the point I'm
I mean,
trying
I
to
could tell you the reasoning they did it, but
sure, but
that no, yeah, I don't want to say it out loud, but
the larger point I'm getting at is that it's a younger game, right? And it's in a different phase of its existence than the men's basketball game is, which is a much older, more mature game. I mean, a lot of the men's basketball programs playing in this year's tournament have been playing for over 100 years.
Yep.
And it's literally half of that or less in the case of most women's programs. When you think back in the history of the men's game, you get to a point where UCLA is winning 11 national titles in a row. That's unimaginable in today's men's game. But you do have a situation where, like in the, Tennessee, especially in the 90s and early aughts, and then kind of gradually shifting to UConn, you do have that kind of level of dominant program in the women's game. It's just at a completely different life cycle. And when you get another decade or two from now, I think it's going to look completely different, right? I think it's going to look completely different. If you look at the women's tournament, all the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s won. There were some upsets at the 12-5 level. And of course, it's the 12-5. It's always that in the men's side as well, right? But that's not something that's always happened. And, SLU losing by 45 to Tennessee, I mean, the women's game has, even from like when I was in college, not all that long ago, I guess 18 years ago, so when I graduated,
Jesus,
it looks completely different. Like the athleticism, the skill level, from the best teams to the worst teams, completely different. And I think there is more parity now than there was then.
Yes.
Way more, and we're talking about basically one generation of I guess depending on how you measure it, but whatever. That I think that is the main reason for what we're seeing. And it's going to be a matter of time before the game gets to the level where, a 14 can really threaten a 3 seed in the first round. And then we start seeing some of those upsets of like 13s over 4s and 15s over 2s start happening. I think we're getting pretty close though. I think we are getting closer in the women's game. So to me, that I don't know if you agree or disagree with that premise, but that's kind of where I come from when I look at where it is. And I don't think it's the kind of thing that you need to sound the alarm bells on or lower the rims or change the rules or anything like that. I think you just got to let the game keep growing because it's growing really fast.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was my next question. And certainly I'm not talking about, changing the rules of the game as it's played on the court, but what can you do to kind of speed up that process and maybe even out the talent level more? Is it could you limit the bids for power conference teams? Could you, and then instead of one bid leagues, you have two bid leagues. I've always said that I thought that unofficially the NCAA has it starts off with a system of this is the base number of bids a conference can get. Would you give, automatically give the A10 two bids and take one away from the SEC, or take one away from the Big East, give one to the Missouri Valley. Missouri Valley is a great women's basketball conference to begin with. But yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see if you could get less of the big schools on TV and more of the small schools. I think, one of the things that kind of is frustrating is you hear ESPN banging the drum for how they've, they literally like patted themselves on the back in like an Instagram post for helping grow women's sports by showing X amount of women's games. But all those women's basketball games are SEC games. They're Notre Dame versus whatever, Indiana, Notre Dame versus Indiana. They're the traditional women's basketball powers. You're not give us give us Friday 10 for women's team. Like do the women's game at like 6 and the men's game at 8 or something like that, you know? Start giving the smaller conferences a little more run on TV and see how that works out.
Well, you're never going to get an argument from me on that. I mean, I always want our smaller conferences to get more of a fair shake for things. Realistically, is that going to happen? I don't know. I think
Hell no.
they're there's already a limited
Yep.
appetite, willingness, whatever you want to call it, to showcase the women's game. So when they do, they're going to probably keep focusing on the power conferences, the blue bloods,
the more pretty basketball, because we're
sure.
still in that phase. I mean,
but I think some of the stuff that's going to help is, I think NIL is really going to help, because I think there are players, there are playing styles, there are personalities that NIL is going to give opportunities to shine that they never could before, now that they can really capitalize on those images. And so I think that's going to help. I think there is really a
OnlyFans,
genuine concerted effort by a lot of networks, organizations, whatever, to kind of push interest in the game more. I think I see it happening in soccer as well. You see the fights for equal pay, and no matter how all that stuff shakes out or what people think of it, over the long haul, it's going to have the impact of raising the profile of the women's game. Wow. And I think more than anything else, it's just going to be more investment, more patience, and then more willingness to keep supporting it. I mean, as corny as it sounds, it's like I made sure my daughter was with me when I popped the game on the other day, right? So
absolutely.
So she knows, and she even said, she's like, those are all girls. She said they're all girls playing, because we've been watching so
you're
much
such a
basketball.
misogynist. Jesus.
They're just
the
not,
nerve of that little girl.
And my wife, who was a women's studies major in college, of course, she's like, oh, I only watch the Xavier men's team. She's like, I got to do better. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, you do.
No,
but I think
honeymoon's over. And
it's been over for a long time. I got nothing to be afraid of at this point. But so it's
except for fear itself.
So it's just one of those things where, like, you just from my perspective, I think it's one of those things that takes time. I think it's well on its way. I mean, I was courtside for every women's home game for 4 years, working the scoreboard when I was there, and I cannot even explain how much better the quality of play is now than it was from 2001 to 2005. It's not even, and I'm not just talking about SLU. I'm talking about everybody, because they were in Conference USA. There were some big programs came to town, and it's not even close, Zach. It's just a different sport now.
I got a question for you, because I watched those teams that we both sat.
Oh, I saw you running around up in the stands every game, man. I saw you there. I know you were there.
Thank you. But no, like, even like when I would, control my ADHD long enough to sit down and watch the game. Thank you for making fun of my medical condition. Very nice. No, I'm kidding.
You were just young.
Yes, both. It was really both. It truly was.
Yeah.
But I look at players like Tyler McElwraith. Shout out Tyler McElwraith.
Sure.
Rachel Diener. You look at like Katie Paganelli, even Maggie Hennigan, Amy Klotz. Like, it felt like were those women bigger, or was I just a tiny human being? Like, because it still felt like we were getting good talent, and talent with size. It felt like we were getting talented players, but it was like if you told me that, like, those teams under Shimmy Gray Miller were way less talented than the players on this team, I don't think so. It doesn't compute with me. I mean, Amanda Kemages was an absolute monster in the paint. I find it hard to, like, look at that, and I don't know if it's me looking at it as a 11 to 13-year-old boy. You know what I mean?
Well, I do think that is part of it. I mean, I think the people we watched in our youth are always kind of are larger than life, right? Until
Mhm.
you get to the point where you're kind of their age or size or whatever, you don't, you just have a different perspective on it. But I do think they would probably be the first to admit that the way athletes are trained and conditioned and
Oh
all of those
boy.
things now has evolved very quickly. The resources that players have available 24/7, the training staffs, the way that they play in
Gyms
youth,
without holes in the walls.
right, right. Youth, AAU, high school, every level has evolved very quickly. There's a lot more investment in youth sports across the board, every sport, every gender, everything. It's gone through the roof, like what we do around sports. So I think they would be the first to admit, like, hey, yeah, players now they're faster, stronger, more skilled, like things like that. It's not to say that they wouldn't, you know, had those players come up in this generation. I mean, yeah, they would still be those college athletes and everything, right? It's just I think they would be able to point to a lot of the reasons why um the talent and athleticism and skill has evolved pretty quickly.
Yeah, I just think it's wild to think about, I always thought that, Teresa Lish was, I mean, I'm even talking about competitively in that era because those
Yeah.
players were, I'm not even comparing them to them now. Like I meant to compare them in that era to the Billikens in this era, but
Mhm.
like it felt like looking back at those teams, I mean, they were so talented and they had such great size and at the guard position and at the forward position. And just I just wonder if, like, comparatively speaking, where was that team? Like all things being equal, where does that team finish in the NCAA compared to like a Lisa Stone team? Like why, it just because Lisa Stone teams had better finishes, right?
Sure. Yeah.
It just doesn't compute. I can't wrap my head around the difference there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair question. I think I'm probably thinking of a half generation before you are because I
Yeah.
was there. Shimmy didn't come until after I was gone from
Oh
SLU.
God, name some names. This will be fun. This would be fun.
So the players like when I was there, Rachel came at the end. I mean, she
Yeah.
was a Pizzotti recruit. But originally, but it was more like Angie Lewis, I think
Yes.
was a grade ahead of me. There
Star
was
Joe. Was this
Star
Star
Jackson.
Joe? Star Jackson, not Star
Yeah, was
Jones.
kind of their guard at the
Yeah.
time. Those
Were
were the
you a
two.
Mandy Luking Carol Weil, or was that a little before
No,
you?
they were ahead of me, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was Mandy Luking and Carol Weil was like my first season of like that was my little like that was like a 7-year-old crush was Mandy Luking and Carol Weil.
Yeah, they
Um,
were a few years ahead of me, but like so that's the era I'm talking about. And I think or that at least, the one that I'm most that I'm drawing my perspective from anyway, most familiar with. I think even by the time Shimmy was there, she was already upgrading talent, right? And then it's a constant evolution. Um, at least you want it to be, and I think it has been with the SLU women's program for sure.
Shout out to everyone involved in this women's basketball program because we just spent an hour talking women's basketball. That's not to say that like you and I wouldn't sit on a call and probably chat about women's basketball for an
Of
hour
course.
anyway. Um, it's but to force our hand,
Hey, when
even
you make a tournament,
yes,
you get attention.
I've said this 1,000 times. If you win at SLU, we will talk about you nonstop.
Right. Field
It,
hockey, what's up?
yes,
Volleyball, what's up? Yeah.
yes, softball. What's up? Um, yeah, I think we both are such supporters of St. Louis of Billiken athletics. Kind of like what is it? I'm Catholic, but I'm not. I'm non-practicing. We're like at times we're like Billiken fans, but we don't go.
Non-practice.
We don't agree with everything. You know what I mean? Like
Sure,
we're
sure.
Catholic, but we don't go to church, right? Yeah, that kind of deal when we're frustrated with the way things are going in the athletic department.
Sure.
Oh man. So let's get into some men's basketball. Not a lot to talk about, unless you want to get full on into offseason Billikens.com, because that place is in fine offseason form already. It
Oh
is.
yeah.
I mean, for the love of Christ, guys, we love you. Thank you for listening, but calm down.
I think we on this show we should probably focus on information more than speculation, information analysis, and not just galaxy brain stuff.
Oh my God. Oh my
Are
God.
you reading it live right now? Because
Yes.
I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that.
Oh, I'm not gonna read it out loud, but Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. This
Yeah.
has gone way
Look,
yeah, just go. You're gonna want to check out
if there's big
Billikens.com.
news, we'll have a
Yeah.
special episode.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll cover it. Don't worry. We won't make you wait a whole week if something big happens on a Monday or Tuesday. That's just the way this goes. But no, yeah,
also, also, I would, that's something we may be revisiting this year, is moving recording so that we can
yeah,
handle any off-season news.
sure.
But men's basketball transfers, our favorite Wordle master, Nick Kramer, has put his, his brain in the transfer portal.
It's the toughest part, right, Zach? Because like we do this show, and you kind of get attached when you have somebody on the show, like, hey, welcome to SLU. We're excited to have you. Like the new recruit energy, that new buzz, right? We really like this guy, and it's always sad to see him go, and we never really got to see how he was going to be as a college player. He redshirted the season, didn't play. We knew he's got a good build for the college game. He's a good defender. He can shoot it, but we just didn't see a whole lot else.
Come back, please. If you're a
Right.
good defender, come back.
That's true, and a good shooter.
Yeah.
You can never have too much of that. But he put his name in the portal after this year. He's going to have 4 years of eligibility. I know he's going to, because of those skills that we just described, he's going to have a home somewhere. Like Coach Hendo told us in baseball, it's hard to transfer up when you haven't really played. And he's going to have to figure out where the right landing spot is, and I don't know how much of that is going to take like kind of a coach's recommendation, or maybe it's going to be one of the programs that recruited him out of high school or something like that. But otherwise, it's just, sad to see him go, and we really liked him. He seemed like a good kid, smart guy, and yeah, I'm sure he's still doing the Wordle.
I still do it every morning, like at like 5 a.m.
I do too, not that early though.
Yeah, no, because you're lazy. Nothing solid. No incoming transfers yet, Pete. What's up?
We've seen our name kind of thrown around, like, hey, SLU has contacted this guy or that guy. Like we follow enough of the portal watchers on Twitter to I mean, some of them are official portal watching Twitter accounts that they'll just say, hey, so and so's in the portal, here's who's contacted him. And SLU's name has shown up on several of them, but like, we're not going to do a deep dive on a guy where we're one of 25 schools who have contacted him. It's just not worth our time. And we're also not going to throw darts on names that hit the portal and we really like. If we do find out that somebody's considering a visit, that they've narrowed their options down and we're still in the mix, then we'll bring a guy up and start talking about him then. But otherwise, I mean, look, the challenge is that the turnaround time on transfer recruiting is so short. It's a whirlwind process. And sometimes we go from finding out about a guy to he's visited to, or not even visited, but committed in a very short amount of time. And it's tough to kind of give the full analysis on everybody that way. So if the information, the most important pertinent stuff that rises to the top, we'll cover. But yeah, nobody's solid yet in the portal, but I think we know what we're going to have 4 or 5 scholarships to play with. So we have the potential to make some noise this spring.
Do you put your tinfoil hat on when you see a guy that enters the transfer portal and commits the same day or the next day?
Not
Like,
necessarily. I mean,
are,
there's nothing that says a player can't contact, right?
right.
Like he knows, like, hey, here's a assistant coach I used to talk to all the time. If I shoot him a text message, like there's that kind of thing. So no.
Can a coach respond to a message like that?
Okay. Now, I think that I don't know if they can if they're not officially in the portal yet, But I mean, there is a lag
look,
time.
like these guys that are going in the portal are planning this out. These guys aren't just like waking up in the morning and be like, let's go portaling.
Right.
Like they've been thinking about this for a while, which includes research on other schools and what other
Sure.
teams are doing. I mean,
And
when these guys aren't playing ball, they're watching ball or playing Fortnite.
Well, and also like coaching, you may think, oh, there's thousands of different coaches, but it's like it's a pretty small fraternity,
Yes.
and they all know each other. And just because a player or a coach can't reach out to a player first or whatever the rules are, doesn't mean people don't talk. So
Sure. I mean,
and
even
can't
like
talk.
I mean, I'm surprised we've seen one portal trade, right?
Pure trade.
Like like a portal, like a legit transfer trade. Like I think we came close to one.
Which one was that?
I don't remember, but I swear I saw it. But like you could definitely be like where, a player tells a coach way ahead of time that he puts his name in the portal. Like, hey coach, like I want to transfer at the end of the season. And then the coach like, hey, where are you thinking? Oh, there. Okay. Let me text so-and-so. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff could go on.
Oh, it does. I mean, it
Yeah.
does. It 100% does.
Where, so, and it's good for a coach to do that too.
Yes.
It's good PR behind the scenes.
Think about how recently we had coaches or schools or conferences blocking transfers.
Still do.
But like that, you don't want to be that coach because
No.
word spreads quickly, and those guys are they're dinosaurs, right? Like they're not going to be around forever. The coaches who act like that, like you have to be like right now. Nick Kramer's biggest allies, agents, whatever you want to call them, is the SLU coaching staff. Like
Yes.
no matter who's coming in or coming out, you always want to do right by a player now because recruiting is an ongoing process. They talk now like we're recruiting our own players, and you don't want like bad apples going out the door mad at the staff, bad mouthing you to other guys. Like you just don't want that to put that out there. You want to do right by the guys, even the ones who are leaving, even the ones who you don't want to leave. You just have to.
I still think it should be acceptable that like you can block in state and rivals. For sure. Like, I mean, come on.
I don't. I wouldn't do that.
Oh man.
I know it's painful, but like, look, like let it happen and then let your fans just like hate the dude forever.
If it's meant to be, let it go.
That's right.
It'll come back to you. Oh, let's talk about the high school kids. Let's get weird. Because grown men talking about teenagers is totally normal.
We did have one new offer this week. Jashawn Stevenson, who's a 6'4", 180 combo guard from Lindblom Academy in Chicago, a school I'd not heard of before. He plays for Young and Reckless AAU. He's a big-time scorer. I think he averaged...
owned by Rob Deerdick?
I don't believe so. I don't.
How did they hour? No, literally, I think they used that logo from the Young and Reckless clothing logo.
Yeah, I can't say I know much about any of that. But
yeah, no, I know that. I've heard that AAU team before.
Yeah, it's a Chicago program. They're not. I don't think they're they're not like an Adidas or a Nike or anything like that. But anyway, this kid. I mean, Stevenson scores about 28 points a game. He did this season as a junior because he is a 2024 player. He's tough, physical, scores on 3 levels, right? He's most effective going to the rim, crafty finisher. He draws a lot of fouls, gets to the line, but he's got a nice pull up and floater in the lane, in the mid range. He's really a true combo guard too. So he can pass, he makes plays for his teammates, and he says he can guard any position at the high school level. I don't know if he's really guarding the post, but nonetheless, he creates a lot of steals. And you got to love the sort of confidence and range of a kid who says he can guard anybody. SLU's only the second offer after Northern Illinois. He's got some more schools interested, but we're definitely getting in early on this one. I think this is kind of an intriguing name. I always like a guy who scores, around 30 in high school. I think that's somebody you can't quite ignore, right? Like some of that's got to translate. And the fact that he's got a good frame, physicality too. I think he looks the part of a solid D1 recruit to me. We'll see at what level he kind of ends up being, though.
Pete, I still have not. I have been sandbagging on posting our research request, and that is on me. I have started a new job within the last few weeks, and it is taken. I am in the office way more, and so it's amazing how much a 20-minute commute each way takes up about an hour and a half of
Sure.
your day.
Oh, I get it.
Like
I get
actually
it.
preposterous. I am so hungry by the time I get home because it's already past dinner time.
Right.
So I automatically, while I'm cooking dinner, I reach into that fridge and I pull out that 2 Men in a Garden and a bag of chips, and I get a little appetizer going.
I don't blame you, Zach, because it makes a great one. It goes great with anything. Best snack though, it's chips and salsa. Come on, it's just the best snack.
I had some before the Battlehawks game. We went to Chava's, but what I much would have preferred? 2 Men in a Garden.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. I've still got my kind of secret recipe blend going on. That's not really a secret at all. And I just remembered I did not share that to our Instagram. I'll do that this week. But one of the things that I love, Zach, my daughter, my 3.5-year-old daughter, is now addicted to their pickles. She's the pickiest eater in the world. She doesn't eat anything. And the first time she had one of their pickles, like a year ago, she wasn't really into it because they're different than the ones she normally eats. And if there's anything a little bit different, she just won't touch it. Right.
This is why we get along, because I was your daughter when I was that age. Like I was.
I'm not a picky eater at all. And I got to tell you, it's like, it's the worst.
Yes.
It's the worst. Anyway, her normal pickle kind, because we have to get her own special kind, of course, because that's what it's like to live with the picky eater, ran out. And I was like, look, Clementine, you're gonna have to try a different kind if you want pickles. And she was like, all right, fine. She was open-minded for a rare occasion and devoured them. Like if I let her, she would have eaten an entire jar. I don't think that's healthy for somebody who weighs 29 pounds or whatever, but amazing. She's now like looking for him in the fridge and everything. So if you haven't, give them a chance. 2meninagarden.com. You can find pickles, salsa, and much more.
All right, here we go. Billiken, actually non-Billiken trivia question of the week. How many jars of pickles would equal the weight of Peter's 3-year-old daughter? Let us know. Baseball, they put their clothes back on. They're no longer streaking.
It ends at 10 games, unfortunately. They had after the Marshall sweep to start the series, they peeled off 10 straight wins, and it came to a screeching halt against Southern Indiana on Tuesday the 14th, Zach, with a 10-2 loss.
Yep. Midweek game. So, I mean, hard to really take anything from these. These are definitely, we'll remind you, are definitely games where you want to get your young arms some work, your inexperienced arms some work, your younger players some run out in the field. But again, odd losing to Southern Indiana by such a score, which is, it is what it is. It's baseball. You're never going to win all your games, or even 90%. You're just not gonna go on 10-game winning streaks all the time. Pete, run us down this game and how it happened.
So Southern Indiana scored in each of the first 4 innings to take a 5-1 lead, and then SLU's first run came on a bases loaded walk, actually. By the time Cole Smith hit an RBI double for SLU's second run in the bottom of the 7th, USI had already added 4 more runs to their lead. So Owen Chafin took the loss, and Max Babich was the only one of SLU's 5 pitchers not to let a run cross the plate. Like you said, staff game, midweek game. You're maybe not putting your best lineup out there. You like your killer lineup, right? Regardless, Southern Indiana is not a bad team either. So even though they're new to D1, they're not bad.
No, and reminder that literally baseball is any school can be good. Like, I mean, a JUCO team could come in and beat the Billikens.
Yeah, unless
Like,
you're
it's just
playing
how
one
it
of
is.
the true blue bloods, like an Ole
Yes.
Miss or something like that. Like you just anything can happen.
Yeah, they added a midweek game against South Dakota State. It was a 5-1 loss. South Dakota State scored in the top, or 3 in the top of the first off Ben Cherico, and that was all they needed. Austin Newegg got one back with a sac fly in the third. Caleb Thompson gave SLU 6 strong innings of scoreless relief, and then, Jack Weber and Ethan Bell finished it off, but let a couple more runs score. Peter, was a good weekend for the Billikens, though. And this is where it comes down to, I don't know enough about baseball powers and how good certain teams are. What I do know is that umpire down in New Orleans was a piece of shit that called that strikeout.
Oh man.
That I
In
know.
that Mississippi Valley State game?
Yes. He's
Wow.
suspended. John Boy
Wow.
Media does a great breakdown of that strikeout. Go watch it. It's hilarious.
I saw that on Twitter. That is
Oh my God.
appalling. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that before.
That dude should never be allowed to umpire. And I know we're in a shortage, but we're letting that kind of guy.
Yeah.
He had to get home for dinner. His dinner was getting cold.
Man.
But the Billikens beat a Lamar team that had some really nice results early in the season, like we talked about.
Yeah, Lamar's got a good record too, and these were 2 dramatic wins.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, Zach, they played them down in Millington, Tennessee on Friday and Saturday at the USA Baseball Complex. I think it was moved there due to weather, or like what they thought would be, like too cold of weather or whatever. And which was, I think, also why the 3rd game that was scheduled for Sunday got canceled. But regardless, SLU entered the 9th inning of the first game, trailing 7-3, and then Ethan Sitzman hits a game-tying grand slam in the bottom of the inning. Tyler Fogarty then hits a game-winning solo shot 2 pitches later to walk it off. Just an amazing win for SLU. Reed Hendrickson gets his first win after blanking Lamar in the top of the 9th. Knox Preston also homered in this one. And they followed it up the next day with a 10-inning walk-off. Tyler Fogarty again, this time with a bases loaded single in the bottom of the 10th to send Dom Cusimano across the plate for the winning run. Ethan Bell picked up the win in 2 2/3 scoreless innings. SLU actually had a 5-1 lead after 3 innings, but Lamar chipped away at it, eventually tied it in the 8th to send it into extras. So it's a relief that they didn't let this one get away and won again in dramatic fashion. Cameron Swanger had a nice game here, 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs, including a 3-run home run. Like I said, the game for Sunday was canceled. SLU moves to 12-5 on the season, and next up they've got Missouri State in a one-off game on the 21st, and then a weekend series out at San Jose State, 24th through the 26th.
Hey, Hendo, I'd like to come out with the team and cover embedded with the team for that San Jose State game. Actually, it's probably cold in San Jose. Honestly, San Jose stinks.
I think California in general had kind of a cold snap lately, or a colder start to the year than usual. But yeah, San Jose, it's not. It's
like Earth City.
Yeah,
it's a more residential version of St. Louis's Earth City.
It's weird now too, because it's like the closest big city to Silicon Valley, so it's like a weird, I don't know, like everything's like overpriced, and it's not my favorite city, to be honest with you.
No, especially that bar that kicked me out after the last Billiken NCAA tournament appearance. By the way, I'm sitting here watching Fairleigh Dickinson, man, and I absolutely I'm watching these fans go apeshit, and man, do I miss it.
Yeah.
Man, like being that hyped.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
I know.
Gosh.
Seeing my wife, seeing her watch Xavier, win 2 games, get to the Sweet 16. And then she had the gall to tell me, it's been a long time. And I was like, been a long time.
Get lost.
It's like, please get away from me right now. Yeah, like I don't need to hear that.
Softball side, Pete, the Billikens, they played a blue blood.
They did. Number 14, Kentucky came to town. And the official SLU website's kind of positive spin headline on a 6-3 loss was Billikens challenge number 14 Kentucky in 6-3 loss. I think that was fair, Zach. I think they earned it.
Yeah, I definitely do, Pete.
Right.
This was also a moment for the Kowalik sisters.
Yeah, that was really cool. Gabby Kowalik, who's been great for SLU this season, her twin sister Kayla is a catcher for Kentucky. Each of them ended up with 2 hits in this game, and they had a nice photo op that was shared by both teams' social media accounts. So that was pretty cool. Maybe that's the reason why we kind of got this game in the first place. But SLU actually out-hit the Wildcats 9-7. UK got out to a 2-0 lead in the first with a 2-run home run, and you kind of think like, like this could get out of hand quickly. But then they kind of held on, and SLU actually took the lead with a 3-run 5th inning. Gabby Kowalik hit a double that sent Natalie Sullivan home. Then Abby Mallow hits a 2-out 2-run homer, which was her second of the season. But unfortunately, Kentucky had 2 more 2-run homers after that, one in the 6th, one in the 7th, and the first and third one were actually hit by the same person, Aaron Koffel. So in the end, a respectable loss, I would call it.
Yeah, it's a shame kind of that they couldn't have got Kayla Kowalik. It wasn't. Oh, sorry, Natalie Sullivan. That's what I was reading. I'm dumb. I was trying to figure out what year they were while you were running them down. And I had Natalie on the mind, and I Googled it, and then I started. Yeah, never mind. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Anyway, it's a bummer that maybe we couldn't have gotten Kayla Kowalik over here for her grad year.
Yeah, I think they're both in their grad year, their last year of eligibility.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, they're from. It's not like they're local or anything, right? They're from Texas, so
right. I know, but maybe let them play together one season. Well, it wasn't so much they're local as that, like, obviously Kayla Kowalik's team is here, Gabby Kowalik's here.
Sure.
Which one's gonna go where to play, right? Just kind of. It's kind of reality. The Billikens opened up their A10 account against Bonaventure this past weekend. You know what? I was upset. I realized that it's so funny. Softball will play in cold weather, and it's kind of bizarre that all they had to do was go to SEMO to get warmer weather.
It's like a totally different climate down in Cape Girardeau.
Yeah, and I can't believe they came back for Sunday's game. Like,
everything
you're paying
about that
for
is
a
weird.
Hotel. Right down there. Right. Why just stay another, what's the difference? But anyway, I was really kind of bummed that Sunday, and maybe it was because the whole series was pretty much sent down to SEMO, but it's pretty bummed they didn't stream this game on Sunday today. Just because that's something they had done the entire season last year, was every A10 game, home game, was streamed. So a little bummed about that. 11-0 win in game 1. Chloe Wendling threw the second no-hitter of her career, going the distance of striking out 8, walking 2. SLU went up 3-0 in the second and added 8 more in the fourth. Chloe Ryan, Natalie Sullivan, Ashley Marietta, Kelsey Etling, and Jocelyn Abbott had 2 hits apiece, with Abbott adding a home run, 5 RBIs, and 3 runs. 12-4 in game 2. Kaylee. I'm going to go with Kaylee. Kaylee Hanner started Taylor, and Taylor Hockman pitched an inning of relief. Wendling ended up with her second win of the day by pitching the 5th. Tied 4-4 after 4. SLU scored 8 in the bottom of the 5th to end it. A walk-off mercy rule, so to speak. Everyone in the top of the 8th. Everyone in the top 8 of SLU's lineup crossed the plate, as did a pinch runner. Abby Mallow hit a pair of home runs and had 5 RBIs. The win was the 300th of head coach Christy Canoyer's career. I won't give her the Kent Miller treatment, in which I mentioned how many games she's lost. Sorry. Pete's like, God damn it. Why, Lord? Why must you let this chucklehead test me?
Can't help it. Just can't help it.
No, I can't. 12-3 win on Sunday the 19th. So had a 4-3 lead after 4 innings, and once again scored 8 in the bottom of the 5th. Chloe Wendling got her 3rd win of the series. Ashley Marietta and Kelsey Etling got their first home runs of the season. Both had 3 hits apiece, as did Natalie Sullivan. Those 3 and Gabby drove in all of SLU's runs. They'll play Lindenwood on the 22nd, and then a weekend series against George Washington, the 25th and 26th. Pete, I find it interesting. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well,
Yeah,
I was just going to say they mercy ruled Bonaventure in all 3 games. They scored 35 runs and they allowed 7th. I think that's a pretty good way to start your conference.
Yes,
season.
it is. I will say that Bonaventure is one of they're up there with George Mason for doing absolutely nothing other than men's basketball. Bonaventure has a terrible baseball team. What do they have? I don't even know if they have a volleyball team.
I can't. It's almost hard for me to understand why they play anything outdoor in that environment. It's just your baseball season can't really even start until late May. The way the weather is up there, so I have to imagine that's the hardest place in the world to recruit for those specific sports.
It would make SLU's campus look like shit, but I would love to see us do a bubble dome over baseball and softball, just all of it together. All of it in one big bubble dome.
They have one of those every year at UC, kind of by where I live. My daughter actually, her preschool's across the street from it, and they're now in the process of, because they're going to the Big 12 and they're going to be flush with more money now.
Cincinnati's going to the Big 12.
Yep. Along with Houston and Central Florida, and I think BYU too. But anyway, so right now they're in the process of tearing down the bubble. They've already deflated and removed it, and they're going to build a permanent practice structure right there. But I got to tell you, the bubble, it's ugly. It is. Yes. Those things are ugly, man. It's just like a big dirty white rubber, whatever the material is. Not rubber, but they're nasty to look at.
Vinyl.
I get what you're saying, but man, vinyl. So ugly.
Pete, run us down the men's tennis results real quick, because I know you can't pronounce anybody on the women's team, so I'll give you the men.
Oh, that's cold. So both the men's and women's team played down in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. The men, nice. Yeah, no kidding. The men got out to a good start, actually won all 3. They beat Georgetown College from Kentucky on the 14th, 7-0. They got a 4-3 win over George Mason on the 15th. I don't know if that counts in their conference column, but I don't think it really matters in tennis because you only play 2 or 3 conference teams anyway before the championship. And then they got a 6-1 win over St. Francis, Pennsylvania on the 16th. They improved to 13-2 on the season, and they've now won 4 in a row. And to ice it, Junior Ryota Fukushima was named A10 Player of the Week.
Nailed it.
For the week of March 6th to 12th. He picked up wins in number 1 singles and number 2 doubles. And it's funny, Zach, because the award was based on the previous week, but he really played even better. He got more done in the past week. Next up, the men will play Baker at St. Clair Tennis Club on March 25th.
Women's tennis played down in Hilton Head as well, same time as the men. 7-0 win over Georgetown, Kentucky. On the 14th, 4-3 loss to George Mason on the 15th. 4-0 wins over Lafayette on the 15th and St. Francis, PA on the 16th. So he's now 12-4 on the season. Elizabeth Minnesota was named A10 Player of the Week of March 6th through the 12th after winning multiple matches in the number 1 spot and in number 2 doubles. They'll play Butler on the 26th. Both tennis teams are about 2/3 through the regular season, which seems crazy. It feels like they just started. And, now I'm thinking about it, softball's already in, conference play. I wonder, they are actually in conference play, aren't they? Softball.
Yeah, I mean, they just played St.
Well,
Bonaventure.
I know they played Bonaventure, but sometimes it's
well, they've got GW next weekend. It's kind of a trickle, right? It's not like men's basketball is so delineated between we've now entered the conference phase of the season.
Because you'll still play midweekers.
Right. Something about these springs I guess these are the spring sports, right? They just fly by. They go so fast.
Because they play in the middle of the day, a lot of them. And you don't get to watch them. And next thing you know, you see 3 or 4 results. I mean, and I'm speaking as somebody who doesn't have alerts up for every sport. on the Billiken app, which is, again, if you're not on the Billiken app, dude, like even just for the ticket portal, it's a brilliant piece of technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Get on it.
Next up, Butler on the 26th. As I said, track and field outdoor season will start at the Raleigh Relays, hosted by NC State on March 24th and 25th. And I think in April, what is it? Is it April that the SLU event is, or is that May?
I have to double check real quick, but you gotta like the name Raleigh Relays. No, the slew of the Billiken Invitational is March 31st. So
Okay.
close to April.
Got it. All right. I want to run the 10K in that just for content.
There you go.
John Bell, if there's an opening at the Billiken Invitational, I'd like to enter the 10K.
If you just start running, I mean, who's going to stop you? You don't need a number.
What was her name that ran the marathon and cheated? Rosie Perez. Rosie Ruiz. Rosie Perez was in White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah, she's an actress.
Yes. Rosie Ruiz. Sweating, lumbering down the line.
Amazing.
That wraps up the week in Billiken athletics and other stupid shit we decided to talk about. Follow us on Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP, and on Instagram at Midtown Mad Pod. Any suggestions, send them our way. Subscribe, rate, do all that good stuff. You know the drill. As always, Pete, go Bills.
Go Bills.